Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Moment of Gratitude with the Sanctuarian. Today, I have an amazing guest. He is an author, keynote speaker, and co-creator of The Bigger Game. Please join me in welcoming Rick Tamlin.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me? I'm not talking very loud.
Yes.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Justin. By the way, can I just that cool countdown thing? That's very cool.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I have to learn how to do that.
Playing with my little creator, always.
Right.
So if you want to just go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about what you do.
Tell our viewers, you got it. Okay, so, oh gosh, what do I do? I'm always training my people on have a good answer. And of course, you asked me and I don't have one. Well, let me tell you what I'm about, and then I'll tell you how I do it.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite things, is to help people say what you're about before you say what you do. So I'm about helping people in the sort of the putting their creative juices to work in a very tangible way that the world can experience and buy, because I believe we are creative geniuses at heart. And where does one's creative geniusness want to go? Whether you start a company, whether you create a product, whether you create coffee, whether you make cards, whether you become an organizer, whatever form your creativity wants to become, I believe that when one is living that creative desire in a real tangible way and helping maybe become a business for people, life is an amazing ride.
Of course.
That's a long answer to what I'm about. How I do it is, you're right, I wrote a book called Play Your Bigger Game, which is pretty much the message of that. Don't just play the same game. Don't play the survival game. Let's play a bigger game. And then I also offer a year-long program called Produce You, the letter U meaning sort of university and learning. It's like a year of what do I truly want to turn my life into in terms of the work I do in the world, and how to get it out there and have people experience it and buy it. Because I think one more thing to say in that, when we get to the end of our life, I don't mean to be too dramatic, but we look back and we go, I created that, is the goal, versus I got through it.
I totally agree. How long have you been in the coaching world, and what would you say is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. The length of time, I sort of bumped into this work. I was an actor for many years in New York City and LA, and I won't go into the long story, but you know how life is sort of like, oh, that became that and that became that. I bumped into this career and started to coach and then train and then speak, and then I sort of got on stages, and then I got in companies, and so it sort of morphed. But almost 30 years. I'm 61. Yeah, about 30 years old is kind of where I said I'm going to go in this direction. Although I wasn't committed to it. It was just, you know how life is sort of like breadcrumbs. It's like one breadcrumb at a time, And then your second question was, what was it about rewarding? What's most rewarding?
What's the most rewarding part about the work?
Yeah. It's so funny. Here's a very granular, specific example. The other day I do free calls, free Zoom calls. I make up a title and a context and a piece of content, and then I invite people. And the other day I did a call, about 30 people were there, and somebody from Europe was there. And they had just been at my event. I did a virtual event with about 200 people. And I will bottom line this. She said, Rick, I just need you to know that event, I don't know how it happened. I don't know why it happened, but it was game-changing for me, is what she literally said. She said a mindset shift happened, and then I got busier with the work I really wanted to do. And then my family started to notice, and my kids started to notice. And so that event has had this ripple effect and sort of reverberates through their entire family system now. And then the funniest thing she said, we sent a gift to everybody. We sent a box of stuff to everybody who came to the event, and we had popcorn in it. And the two kids, these great kids, were so excited that they were getting popcorn from America. Somehow our popcorn's better. I don't know. So there was this sweet moment of, she sent me a picture of the family having popcorn that we had sent, with an amazing gratitude email of, you never know the impact you have sometimes. And so that, I went to bed that night going, wow, you never know if things you do work. You never really hear back. And, you do have to throw the spaghetti though. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. And that was an example of when it sticks. And because it's risky and it's vulnerable and it's scary to put one's work into the world, because the world is going to judge it.
Of course.
So that's a long answer, but it just happened 2 days ago. So it's very fresh in my mind.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, with 2020 being the year that it is, and with the pandemic, has that kind of changed the way that you do your work? Or was it more virtual anyways before this?
Well, there's so many answers to that. Bottom line is, it's all virtual now, of course. I was probably 60-40, 60 live, 40 virtual. Meaning I'd go to an event, I'd speak, people asked me to speak at their events. Corporate people would bring me in and do a training on leadership development. I do a lot of that work. And I'd go to these locations, right? And I have 2.5 million miles on United Airlines. So, 27 years of flying. And I'll never forget it. In March, I was on the road. I was in Canada. COVID was like getting a little louder. And March, I think it was like literally March 17th, I'm leading a workshop in Canada, 3-day workshop. Sure enough, Sunday, I'm literally thinking, I had about 6 things on the books for the next 3 months. And I'm thinking, can we squeak by? And, Sunday afternoon, text, email, we have to cancel, we have to cancel, we have to cancel, we have to cancel. So about 80% of my work and my income went away in about 3 hours. So you sort of look at the reality of I'm just one of millions of people where it just evaporated, right? Like restaurants are shutting, and I have I'm somewhat maybe just lucky or blessed, whatever perspective, where virtual, it can still work. People who are in the restaurant business, my gosh, my heart goes out that, to go out and eat is not a thing. I love the creativity though, inside of this whole thing, as because Jocelyn, you're in the creativity space, you're helping people with your work, being more creative with their online presence. We have restaurants in our area. I mean, there's now tents outside and there's heaters and, it's on lawns that is not even their property, but the neighbor said, it's okay, you can use the lawn. And, I'm thrilled by that sort of creativity, that's happening. So
yes. Well, and I think this time has kind of somewhat even brought people closer together in a way, because they're actually thinking about it and being more active in helping the people around them.
Yeah.
And again, we live in the same area. So I've seen a lot of the restaurants. I was walking downtown Palm Springs the other day, and there's so many tents set up. They've got roads blocked off so that restaurants could expand outside. And it's just nice to see everybody coming together to help, because a lot of our restaurants are those like boutique restaurants that don't have a whole lot of space outside, and they do most of their indoor dining. So it's just nice that the city's coming together and all of the residents and everybody, they're giving up that kind of comfort of having everything open and easily accessible, but still having just giving the time and the space up to allow their local business owners to still continue to thrive.
Yep.
And that's amazing. Is there any piece of advice throughout your career that you've been given that really kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, it's become my brand. And some of you know this phrase if you're in my land and you've heard me speak. It's life is all made up. It's all made up. Now, let me be really clear and say that in the context of our world right now, there's a lot of data being made up. So I'm not talking about data. Data is data. Facts are facts. So in the political situation that we've been in over a while, it's been I just need to pause that sentence. I have to close the door again because I opened it by mistake. Hang on.
No worries.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, it's a very live TV show. So life is made up. Basically, you get to make it up. How I look at my life is how I experience my life, is how I look at my job, how I look at anything is made up. And it goes back to my core point. We are born as creative geniuses. And I don't mean creativity like artists, like painter, writer. I just mean as a being, we come in the world creative. And therefore we get to make it up. Like, I have a job, it doesn't work out. Okay, good. I mean, Justin, I've watched you over the years. You're young, but you're like, okay, I'm going to change that. Okay, now I'm going to move there. Or now I'm going to right. You're in this creativity with life.
Mm-hmm.
And let me offer that perspective. You're being creative with life. You're not trying to control life.
Absolutely.
You can't control any of this. But how do I learn to blend with and co-create with these circumstances that I have?
Yes.
And humans are trying to control them all the time, and it's really hard.
Of course. And as you know, I recently relocated to California. So I moved a week before the world shut down.
I know, right?
And here I had
no
real business connections. And then I couldn't go into people's homes because I do both home organizing and social media management and marketing. So I had to completely restructure my business and how it's going to work and how am I going to get the word out there and start making these connections. And I'm very thankful that I have people in my life. You are one of them that are just always there, arms wide open. How can we help? What do we need to do? And that has definitely, I think, shaped a little bit of how I do business and things like that. Because I've attended a few of your events, and no matter what, every time I attend, I learn something new. Even if it's something that I've heard previous, I hear it in a different way that's relating to that moment and that time.
Where you are in life, exactly. We can never hear stuff enough, right? I'm sorry.
Of course.
Right.
And so that was something that I learned quickly, that I had to roll with the times because I'm not able to go and see people in person. And so virtual networking became a big thing, and it was very weird at first. And then you mentioned you just had to do your regular event that you normally do live virtual for the first time. How was that experience for you?
Oh my gosh, I could go on for 4 hours. That was game-changing for me. It seemed to be game-changing for the world who was there, the people who attended. I feel very proud. I went in nervous and scared, and is it going to work? And am I going to be able to hold people's attention? And what I loved is, what are the creative ways to have people be engaged for 3 solid days? Because I'm competing against CNN, or Fox News, whatever the news they're watching, right over there. Like CNN is right down the hall. So I'm just another television screen. So I have to create an event that's more engaging than that. And that was super fun, and it's, I sort of sounds egotistical, but I sort of blow my own horn for a second. It's like our stick rate, meaning people who stayed with us for the entire time, was really high. And I knew, by the way, it was working because I just didn't know in the beginning if it was going to work. But the end of day one, when I said goodbye to everybody, but we kept the Zoom rooms open. There were like 4 Zoom rooms, 200 people. People weren't leaving. People were not leaving the Zoom rooms. And I turned to Chuck, he was in the studio with me, and I said, they're not leaving. Half of them are not leaving because they want to keep talking. And I said, that's the ultimate piece of feedback called, I don't want to leave the room.
They were activated.
Right.
I know from behind the scenes, talking with various participants of it, they were just astounded by how well the technology ran, because that's one thing when you're going into something virtual, you're learning all this different technology pieces, then how are they going to work together? And a lot of them were very pleased and surprised that they felt it was so interactive. They forgot they were at a virtual event. They felt like they were live in person.
I know, which, saying that, I'd be like, oh my God.
It speaks a lot to what you do. And I definitely think that's
well, it took a village and you were a part of the village, just to be clear.
Yes.
You were a huge part of that. I mean, for people to know, there were probably, there were 6 people in a studio. Sorry, the tech people in the studio. I'm in the studio by myself. Anyway, you're out there in the field. I don't know, there was probably 20 people, around the country making this thing happen, which just to like my own level of like, this is so exciting. I've never done anything like this. I was I was enamored by how this was unfolding. And then I became sort of wildly curious about why it's working and how is that working and why is it working so well and what's the technology that's making that happen. And so I'm on the breaks, I'm talking to the studio guys and going, okay, so walk me through your tech. And the guy's like, well, there are 12 Macs, there are 6 switchers, and I'm like, oh my God. Because in the studio, again, I don't want to get too techie, but there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 television sets that I am now interacting with. So the guy beautifully created a 270-degree space, and you all were watching sort of there's different camera angles. And so half of that is production. There's the performance side, the performer, me, but then the production side, to your point, so anyway, super fun.
And that kind of leads us into your year-long program a little bit. It's called Produce You. If you want to just give them a little hint of kind of what that year-long they can expect from that.
Yeah. Well, okay, good. It's the Produce You, the event sort of feeds Produce You the year. People decide, oh yeah, I really like the way he thinks. I like the support I'm getting at this weekend, and I want to truly commit to a year of putting my good work into the world, whatever that means. So that's the criteria of like, yes, I want to put my good work into my world, have it provide me a good living, learn the creative process of generating creative wisdom and putting it into the world fast. I won't go into the structure of it, but it's a lot of one-on-one coaching calls. We have a group training call tomorrow of 3 hours. Then we have 3 intensives. We help people make their videos. We help people with their social media, which you're a part of, Jocelyn. You're a part of our team. I think that the short answer for everybody is, think about it, folks who are watching. When you buy something, you've probably had some sort of experience with it. And I don't mean a product like a coffee cupy, but when you've bought a service, you've had to meet the person, you've had to hear them, you've had to see them online somehow. So Produce You is producing you, the person, out into the world, for the world to experience you, and then the world will either, by the way, want to buy you or not. But you cannot be a secret and be a success at the same time. It's not possible.
That's so true.
And so using the metaphor, one more thing to say about this, using the metaphor of me, I'm a gay man, being closeted, sucked.
Mm-hmm.
There's energy is shut down. There's nothing coming, like you're embarrassed, you're shame based. You're like, oh my God, I don't want the world to know I'm gay. Then you come out and it's like a free for all. Oh my God, I'm finally free. I'm finally free. I feel creative. I get to live the life I want. The world's going to judge me. Who cares? That is the metaphor of what Produce You is. It's a year of coming out.
I love that.
And that's pretty free on the other side of that. And it's not a year of perfect strategy, but it is a year of lots of creativity.
That's fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit about your book as well, Play Your Bigger Game, and
You're going around my circle in my life.
Perfect. And kind of speak a little bit on the creative process and what kind of made you dive into wanting to write the book.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So many dimensions to that. I will go to the, first of all, I was, the language of bigger game was not mine. It was a friend, a dear compatriot of mine, a collaborator. What is it when you have a person who's in your space who, oh my gosh, colleague.
Oh, yes.
Colleague. Major word. Colleague of mine, Laura Whitworth is her name. She's since passed on, but she very much lives in the world. She was a coach trainer for the Coaches Training Institute, which many of you know of and I'm a part of. She called me, bottom line, and said, I have this title. I would love to, like, what do you think about it? And we kind of chatted. She had other people in the conversation, and here's the concept. From talking to our one-on-one coaching clients, she and I, and amongst a couple of other people, we started to realize that people who were moving faster and forward and having more success with the life they wanted, we're up to, and this is our jargon, we're up to playing a bigger game with their life. Mm-hmm. Which simply means they were up to doing something bigger than they knew how to do. They were committed to something grander than just get through life and, God willing, I have some happy days.
Yes.
That was not the goal. The goal was about impact with your life. And so we gave it this terminology called bigger game, which is really like, what's the impact you want to have with your life in a real tangible way? Mm-hmm. So we created a very simple model. It's not complicated. It's, it's got 9 squares. It's a game board. It's a tic-tac-toe board. All the terminology, you've seen this, you've heard it. I've given it a form called a tic-tac-toe board. I just said that. I know I said that. Biggergame.com if you want to go read about it more. ricktamlin.com. I don't want to bore everybody with all the words, what it means, but I will underline for those of you that are listening who are in the coaching and thought leader space, and when you give your work a context, it starts to be stickier. Like, play a bigger game is a context and a language that pulls people. Yeah, I want to play a bigger game, and that's more compelling to people than saying to people, "I'm a coach." Like, coach has no meaning. It's like, oh, you're one of those coaches. Okay, great. No, what I do is I help people play a bigger game. Oh, what's that? See how that? So I'm sharing that concept. Like, come up with a theme or a context or a way to talk about what you do that's not the role. The role is author. Traditionally you introduce people. You did it with me, which is totally perfect. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's a coach. He's a trainer. Right? That's all good. But that's not compelling. Mm-hmm. That's just informational. It's not transformational.
Yes. One of my favorite things that you always say, because a lot of the people in the world like to say that you're inspiring to them and motivating. And I know you always like to mention that you're not a motivational speaker, you're an activational speaker.
Yeah.
And that's something that even in my first event, I was like, that makes so much sense, because you're bringing out all of what a person is to the world, helping them do that with different teachings. And it's versus someone that's just giving a one-liner that, oh, that's my motivation for the day. And I love that you speak on being more of that activational. And it's the same way you're kind of, for your Produce You program, you're the producer of it and helping them produce themselves. And I think that's amazing. So we actually have a few viewers that are commenting.
I can't see them. How do I see people? I can't see them.
It doesn't have the comments.
Oh, there it is. I can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So one of the viewers actually attended your event and said it was very engaging.
Yeah, that's
they
Jeff.
felt like
Jeff.
Felt like I was with everyone from different parts of the world. And that was another thing too. You had people from everywhere.
Well, that was the gift of like, go virtual. Now the world's your oyster.
Because I remember just a few of them, like some were from South Africa. You had some from Dubai, and I think that's something incredible as well, that you've traveled all over the world talking about the bigger game and what you do. And you've really activated so many different types of people everywhere. And it rings true with them. So, well, obviously.
Well, you give it your best shot, and I think that's the point I want to make. It's like you give it your best shot, and you can't be attached to the outcome, and you can't predict how it's going to go. But you can be committed to a better life for yourself, for other people. People buy our commitment more than they buy our content.
Of course. So if anyone has any questions for Rick, please go ahead and put those in the chat box. I have a few more questions for you. Being a business owner, are there any challenges along the way?
None. It's as smooth sailing as ever. It's like harmony and rainbows.
That you found you've had to overcome, that would be some advice you could give some individuals out there looking to start their own business?
Yeah. Well, I just want to underline, and you know this, Jocelyn, because I know you're in it for the long haul. I'll just say it, and then I'll clean it up if I make a mess. It's easier to go work for somebody else. It's not more fulfilling and fun. It's just easier to follow. Here's your job, and here are your tasks. Because when you go work somewhere, here's your job, here's your task, repeat. Not very fulfilling. We all know that game. Unless, by the way, oh my God, it touches your heart and I love what I do. And, if you're working in a hospital and you're like, oh my God, let's be careful. But, there's a millions who that doesn't ring true for. So I want to underline, it is not for the faint of heart to start your own business. I do love this new phrase that I've added. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is for the full of heart. You have to have a lot in there, and you have to be wildly committed. And you have to have days where you get out of bed and you go, oh my God, I could lose it all. The ability to be with risk is a part of the game. Because, it's easier to go work for somebody else. They give you a 401k, you turn 65, you're done, you check the box, God willing. That is a fine life, by the way. I am not voting that's a bad life. That is just a life that didn't call to me. Right? Because, by the way, here's the thing, life informs us of what matters to us. That was my dad's life. General Motors, 45 years, 63, he was pushed out. Thought he was going to get a big package. He didn't get a big package. He didn't get the money he thought he was going to get. He sobbed at the kitchen table. And I watched that and I went, oh my God, the system was supposed to take care of him and it didn't. So I realized in that moment, on some level, I said, I have to take more responsibility for this. Because my government, my company, my job, is not going to take care of me necessarily. It might, because it does for some people.
Yes.
So I want to be careful of the rule of that, but for some it doesn't. And I got woken up to personal responsibility, and having one's business is the game I wanted to play. not for the faint of heart. So I know I kind of went broad in my answer there, but the daily tactics of doing, there's some days it's like, I'd rather just sort of like click through bad television, and I have to remember, this is a tip I learned early on when I became a self-employed person. Wake up and take a shower and dress like you're going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm going to work, even though it was next door to my bed, like I'm in my office right now. And it's like, no, I'm going to work, right? I have a job to do today. And I think the self-employed person kind of goes to, oh, this is me having freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. We know how much long, so self-employment is and you read, there's a zillion books out there about entrepreneurship and the dark side of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you can kind of get the flywheel going, the light side is you've got it figured out and it's repeatable, and you all of a sudden you're making triple the amount you ever could have imagined possible. So, but I keep, oh, you go.
And I think that's even more important now because everybody's working from home. And even if you were self-employed but you had a physical office outside of the house, is still going through those practices of you're still going to work really important, because this pandemic could really kind of take away a little bit of that drive a little bit, because you start to get complacent and comfortable because you're at home.
It was easy to blame the pandemic.
Yes.
And I had a really amazing coaching call with one of my mastermind coaches who sort of got in my face and said, good, you get 24 hours to blame the pandemic, and then you're back in the game. Mm-hmm. Because people who are going to survive this pandemic business-wise are the ones who are not going to let the pandemic take them out.
Yeah.
Unless they are taken out physically. Let's be clear. The pandemic is a physical thing that can actually kill you. Yes. So she wasn't talking about that, but she's like, you are a business owner. Let me give you 6 ideas right now that how you can do this online, because I'm not going to let you stall for 6 months while we get through this. Because if you wait, you're done.
Absolutely.
And I watched people who waited, and I also watched people who got creative.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was not easy. I was picking up the phone, calling people going, okay, I have this new product. I want to offer this to you. And it's going to be 3 months and it's this price. And right.
Mm-hmm.
I had to replace about 50% of my income within a month.
Yeah.
Right. It just forced
really
the
ties
issue.
To the creative. And being creative in what there is to offer virtually, because a lot of, especially because you travel all the world, you speak in person with people, and you're someone who really comes alive in person. And how can they really experience that virtually? And I think, because I've watched a few of your Facebook Lives and things like that, and I think you've kind of started figuring that out and getting more comfortable. And I'm just talking to the crowd. Like I'm still speaking.
Right. There's nothing different. I was on a call with somebody else this morning, helping them design their event, because they have an event coming up, and helping them design something. And they got caught. You could feel it. They got sort of caught in the traditional Zoom. Oh my God, people are zoomed out, right? Mm-hmm. And I could be with it, but then I said, now you got to stop and go. You're gonna create an event that's gonna blow their minds. And because I did it myself, I was like, because people told me nobody will stay with you for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one person in my corner who said, no, we're going to make this so creative that they're going to want to stay. And then they gave me the perspective. It's not a webinar. See, everybody turns everything that's on a flat screen a webinar.
Mm-hmm.
And she reminded me, this is an event. You are putting an event into their living rooms and into their homes. You are still doing an event. So it needs theatricality. It needs a home. You're going to send them stuff to their home. You're going to have dancing. You're going to have cocktails, right? So all of the same elements were brought in that we did live. We just send it to your home. And we also told you to go do stuff and bring back. And I mean, did you love the moment? I'm just going to go. I know you got me so wound up. The dancing moment with the kids. I
Yes.
remember there was kids from, I
It
think.
was so adorable.
Oh my God. The kids were dancing with their moms and their dads who had just been with the workshop. And, the kids looking at me going, who's that guy? And then I look at the kid and I go, look at that kid dancing. And then we'd bring him up on the big screen. And then the kids would see themselves dancing on the big screen. I was so impressed by the technology people in that moment, because they were creating a visual potpourri of interactivity, right? So Jeff Grant is asking a question. Going forward, how do you think events will be impacted by embracing the hybrid model combination of live and virtual? My opinion, Jeff, is it's going to take a while before we go back to live, even though there'll be a vaccine. The fear factor is going to be with us for a while. What I imagine for myself, Jeff, is this is my high dream. People who want to come to a live event, great, we'll have a room. We'll also have enough cameras in the room that people who want to watch it at home can watch it at home. We'll see how that goes, but that's my dream at the moment. I haven't talked to some people in my life, but some people are also, I can hear it. They've already talked about it. You got to just sort of do one or the other. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and I think it could also work if you are still keeping those viewing from home interactive with the group. And it could, because you do a lot of breakout room stuff where you could say you have your 3 screens of these people watching virtually, and then you have, it's just breaking it up and still getting them to interact with each other. I think that would be something
right.
Wonderful.
What dictates this is cost, because I was in a studio that was already set up to do this. So now you're bringing in about $500,000 worth of equipment into a space with 3 cameras, lighting, microphones. So, that I just go right to, okay, I've just tripled the cost of my event, which is fine. I'm just naming but that's what gets into this. Like, that's what designs it. It's like, how much am I willing to spend?
Of course.
Because you bring 3 cameras in with 3 camera operators who are with a union, which is totally appropriate. I mean, you're just tripled your budget. So, I just go to the math. It's like, okay, cool idea. But, my partner Chuck will go, okay, that's about $500,000. I don't think we're going to spend that, so.
Well, and that takes it more to that business side of being a business from the creative side and kind of balancing the two.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We spent, I won't go into the details too much, but we spent more than I thought we would spend on this virtual event. All the way from the website working, getting the tech side really well done, that you click on this and it works, and then you watch a video, and then you were a part of a welcome room, and I won't go into the details, but all those different elements was a person designing and creating. So of course, they're a part of the budget.
Yes.
But I have learned, just to go to the money thing, man, don't hold back. Like, we would have these moments of oh, should we do that or should we do that? That'll save us $1,000. Are you kidding me? Do it.
Yes.
It's like the impact side primarily designed us. Like, oh my gosh, if we do that, that'll add this other element. Let's do it. Yeah. We tried not to nickel and dime our way through this. Because otherwise you get, oh, that'll save me $500. That'll say, oh my God, I'd say to Chuck, well, he did it to me. He goes, oh my God, we're going to save $500 and they're going to miss out on that. Why would we do that?
Yes.
Because the lens, the decision-making lens was, what do we want people to feel and experience? And then of course we had a budget, so it wasn't endless, but that was the question. What do we want people to feel and experience? And what does that take?
Yeah. And I think that really helps those that are attending it really kind of get the feel of what they would experience in a live event, obviously with a few little changes. And so Jeff says he loves that dream.
I know.
For
We do
the
want to be in. I mean, can we just go to the? Can we just have a moment of like? Can we wait to get into a room to each other and have a cocktail?
Yes.
At the end of a really good workshop day or a really good event day, we all sit around and connect over the bar. Like that's coming. I miss it terribly. I can do the virtual event just fine, but it's that sidebar moments.
Yes.
Walking through the halls with people. It's the interactivity between the event that I miss the most.
Absolutely.
Because I would have, in my own event, I'd have this amazing day and I'd go to Chuck, oh my God, it seemed to work. And was I okay? And, and it's like he and I to be able to run to a bar with 100 people and sort of get a read of what was happening. And they're like lit up and, that's the part I missed.
Yes.
I call that the sidebar part of the experience.
Of course.
It's not the headline, right?
Of course.
So, oh my God, I think I've taken way more of the time than you expected.
No worries. So my last question for you is, where can our followers find you? What social media and website?
I live in Palm Springs. I'll give you my address. I'll meet you in the front yard for a cocktail.
Yes.
No, really simply, it's ricktamlyn.com is the fastest, ricktamlyn.com.
Yes.
That's my Facebook page. There's you can look for me. I'm sort of all over social media. Need to do more social media, but I keep learning. And Jocelyn, you're always helping me with this. It's like that energy around social media that you feel like you can never do enough.
Yes.
You have to be careful of that, right? It's like,
yeah.
Well,
and on the flip side of that, there's also the feeling of you're doing too much and that you're overbearing them a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's finding the balance.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being a guest.
Of course,
on my episode. And if you would like to see a recording of the video or receive any of the links we've talked about today, I will be sending out an email. Feel free to visit jflowersorganizing.com. And you can join our mailing list and everything will be sent out this week.
Before we go, I have to ask you one question.
Yes.
I love this word sanctuarian.
Yes.
So just give us the thumbnail of what it means for you.
The Sanctuarian for me actually came about from attending one of your events. And just explaining a little bit about what I did. I really wanted to just give people their own sanctuary in their home and somewhere where they can just kind of escape the world and just unwind and not have the stress and anxiety that comes along with everything else in the world these days. And it kind of, for me, just it embodied all of that. And it really spans to everything that I do, whether it's the social media management, virtual assistant work, or the actually going in and working one-on-one with clients in their home. I'm being able to provide them a little bit of that sanctuary and tranquility that a lot of people are looking for.
I get it. So it's the metaphor of the outcome. When you organize my home, the context in which you're operating from is you creating a sanctuary for me. Yeah. Okay, good. I just wanted to sort of make sure that's what it was about. That's it. I mean, I think it's a beautiful word, and it is true. It's what you do. Do you know that you calm people down?
I've been told that a couple times. Yes.
Yeah. If we were to do a sort of a broad stroke of what Jocelyn Flowers does, is she calms you down. By organizing your life and also by kind of organizing social media, the chaos of social media. It's interesting. I just want to offer you this. It's like there's chaos in people's homes with all their stuff.
Of course.
And there's chaos in our heads with social media. And so you kind of move people from the chaos to sort of calm.
Yes. Well, my mission statement, so to speak, for my business is diffusing stress and anxiety and mind, body, and home. So it's really encompassing all of that through my work.
Yeah. Thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. More to come, and you know where we live. Let's be in touch. And thanks everybody for
Absolutely.
watching. If you watched, I hope some of what you heard today touched something or activated some new thought for you. So thank you much, Jocelyn.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Tune in on this Thursday for our next guest, and we'll see you soon. All
Peace,
right.
everybody.
Bye.